Hello there. All right, in this part we're going to continue with Unit 9, and in Unit 9 we're going to deal with the part with questions, making questions. So we have direct questions and indirect questions. So let's have a look at the first one, which deal with direct questions. They're normal questions that you ask a friend, family members, just anyone. Okay? Any question. So you can ask, for example, where's the bathroom, the restroom, the toilet? What's your name? Do you have a dog? Do you like pets? Those are direct questions, right? Any normal question. Then you have the indirect questions, which are a little bit more formal and polite. So we use them when we're talking to a person we do not know very well, or has a high professional situation, status. You're going to address, for example, the president of your country. You are not going to ask a direct question, but you would have to make an indirect questions. So remember, indirect questions are very polite ways of addressing to a person you do not know. For example, could you tell me where the bathroom is, please? Could you tell me where the restroom is? So I just made the question quite formal. So there are phrases that we use for these indirect questions, and the first one that you have here, could you tell me? Could you tell me? If you want to add a please, there'll be no problem. That's okay. You can always use a please. Then you have, do you know? And you continue making up the question. These are just remember phrases. I was wondering, and then the question will show up. Do you have any idea? I'd like to know, would it be possible? Is there any chance? For example, you need help. Is there any chance you can help me? That would be the question, okay? So these are the common phrases that we can see when we make up these questions. Let's continue then. You have to remember, okay, like I always tell you, you have like a formula that you use for these indirect questions. They form in two parts, right? One is a polite expression and a question, which has, in this case, no subject or verb, but it is inverted like any ordinary question. So you have an example here. What's his name? That's a direct question. But if I want to make it into an indirect question, there has to be a kind of switching. So notice you use the phrase, do you know what his name is? Okay. So first of all, I can see a few things there. The is, what is his name? That is, I put it towards the end of the new indirect question. And I have to keep the same WH question, in this case, what, as part of my complement of that formal question. Do you know what his name is? Do you see the order of the words? All right, so it's something you do have to keep in mind. There's going to be a switching there. Okay, so the polite question or expression here, phrase, is do you know? Yeah, the question part is what is his name? So the subject and verb have not changed place in the question part, but if you say, do you know what is his name? If you leave it like that, it would be incorrect. I hope you can see it there. If I just add the phrase, do you know what is his name? that question is wrong. Remember the switching, the flipping of the verb, okay? Also, when I talk about these indirect questions and I use an auxiliary does, there is another situation here. Look at the examples. Normally, I use do to make any other kind of question. Do you have any pets? Do you like Chinese food? Okay? But when it comes to indirect question, notice the change, okay? When do you know, for example, the question, when does the train arrive? That's a direct question. If I would change here using the do you know when? Notice the next train, because that would be part of my subject. And then I put the verb at the end, arrives. Okay, what did you eliminate there? Do you know when the next train arrives? What did I eliminate? Yes, the does. In the first original direct question. When does the next train arrive? That does, I have to eliminate it, erase it. Okay, so then, because I can't have two auxiliaries together, that's why. The does is just helping me, it's just telling me that this question is in present. That's it. Okay, so that's why I eliminate it. And then I use the phrase, do you know? There, do you know? Obviously, I'm using that auxiliary do, so I can't repeat. I just eliminate it. Let's look at another example. When does the restaurant close? That's a direct question. Indirect question, I can use any of the phrases you saw before. Could you tell me when the restaurant closes? Okay, so notice the new phrase, could you tell me? And I use the same when, the subject, the restaurant, and I just put the verb at the end in third person. Okay, I have to make that change. Could you tell me when the restaurant closes? Notice if I say like this, could you tell me when does the restaurant close? That question is wrong. Okay? I cannot use there this auxiliary do, and that's what I wanted to point out here. Okay, I hope it is clear. We also have like direct questions, you know, when you answer yes or no. Do you like English? Yes, I do. I love it. You're not going to say the negative one, right? So if you have here yes or no, I'm going to substitute with if and whether to link this phrase with the question I want to ask. Yeah? Okay, so let's look at the example. Do you have a driver's license? Sorry for that. Do you have a driver's license? Yes, I do. No, I don't. So when I ask an indirect question, I use the phrase, I'd like to know, and I can use the if or whether. Okay, the conditional there. Either way is correct. I can use if or I can use whether. I'd like to know if you have a driving license. Okay, it's a question, it's polite. What can you see here? I eliminated the do. Okay, I added, because it's a question, the if or whether, as you prefer. And then I have practically, you have a driving license. This is a bit more simpler, okay? You can see practically I kept all the rest as it was. Let's see another one. Have you been at your current company for a long time? So the question would be polite. Would you mind telling me whether you've been at your current company for a long time? Okay, so once again, you can see there, I added the phrase, I added if, and the rest of the statements practically the same. Okay? So let's have a look at other examples here. Questions within sentences. okay, and questions within questions. Let's have a look. You can make 2 direct questions in 1 question. What's the problem? Do you know? I have 2 questions there. But I can say, do you know what the problem is? So I converted those 2 questions in 1. Do you know what the problem is? Remember, the verb to be is always at the end. Look at the other example. Which site did you use? Can you remember? Can you remember which site you used to navigate whatever the situation was? Okay, so the direct question becomes a question within a question because of that. So we use the statement word order in questions within questions. Look at the following. What is the problem? Okay, that's a direct question. The verb is before the subject. What is the problem? But notice the change. Do you know what the problem is? As I told you, the to be is always at the end. In this case, it's a question within a question. The verb, that's why the verb I put after the subject. Now let us look at other examples here. The first one, where is Balmaceda Street? So the indirect question, could you tell me where the Balmaceda Street is? So normally when you have a question where you have is or are, it comes after the subject. Okay, the subject is Balmaceda Street, as we have been talking about it before. Okay, another example. What time does the bank open? That's a direct question. I'm going to make it into an indirect question. Do you know what time the bank opens? So we don't use the auxiliary remember, do, does, did. Okay, I keep the same WH question. And since I'm talking about the bank, I have to use the verb with the S because it's the third person, right? Okay. Let's look at another example. Why did you move to Chile? That's a direct question. Indirect, I was wondering why you moved to Chile. Or if you moved to Europe, why did you move to Europe? I was wondering why you moved to Europe. So again, once again, there's no auxiliary verb. The did I eliminated, and I used the phrase I was wondering, WH question why you moved to Europe, okay? The did only tells me that it's the past tense, so I have to use move, the past, moved. That's it, okay? Nothing else. Very well. Another example is a direct question. How much does the iPhone 7 cost? An indirect question would be, I'd like to know how much the iPhone 7 costs. So what can you see there? Very good. The expression, the phrase, I'd like to know. I copy how. Then I have how much, the WH question, which would be how. And then I keep the much. I keep the iPhone 7. And I have to write the S on the verb because I'm talking about a third person singular. So I'd like to know how much the iPhone 7 costs. So remember once again, you have to remove the does and change cost to costs. All right? Because when I have an indirect question, that's precisely what the does tells me. It tells me that it's present and third person. That's why I have to add the S. Another example that we have, direct question, can you finish the project by tomorrow? Indirect question, would it be possible for you to finish the project by tomorrow? So I can see I'm using in the first original question, direct, the can. Okay? Then I use the phrase in the indirect question, would it be possible? Since I'm using a modal verb, okay, would it be possible for you to finish? I would have to use the infinitive form, to finish, to make, to whatever, okay? Every time you use a modal verb, I'm going to use an infinitive form. Very well? Okay. Here the verb, I do not, it doesn't end, in S, anything like it, because I have to use the infinitive. To finish, to work, to clean, to study, all right? Would it be, let's see another example. Can you help me? Would it be possible for you to help me? So there you can see I'm not using the can. So let's remember then, when it's I have an indirect question with yes or no, the indirect question I have to use the if, remember, or whether. Does Tom like Italian food? Indirect. Do you know if Tom likes Italian food? Okay, that's just a repetition of what we have been saying. Just other examples so you can see it better. Another question, are your parents joining us for dinner? Are your parents joining us for dinner? Direct question. Indirect. Could you tell me if your parents are joining us for dinner? So once again, when it's a direct question with does, do, did, are, is, it doesn't matter. I have to use the if, okay? Now I have here some examples. If you wish, you can do it. Where is the nearest bank? That's the direct question. How would the indirect question be? Where is the nearest bank? It would be, could you tell me where the nearest bank is? That would be the answer. Very good if you got it. Great. Good job. The other question, why is that little baby crying? Why is that little baby crying? So, an indirect question could be, could you tell me why that little baby is crying? So there was a change there. Okay. Remember, you can use any of the phrases that we said before. Okay. There you can see them once again. Is there any water here? An indirect question. Do you know if there is any water here? Another one. Is he coming tomorrow? Is your friend coming tomorrow? Is he coming tomorrow? So I can use indirect question. Can you tell me if your friend is coming tomorrow? Or can you tell me if he is coming tomorrow? So how are you doing then? You got it? Okay, little by little, remember to complete it with your Touchstone platform. There you have a question within a question. It's the same thing. How many cars does she have? So it could be, I wonder how many cars she has. Notice the change, okay? Another one. Very good if you got it. Do you like swimming? I can ask you, for example, can you tell me if they like swimming? Okay, if you got it. The last one would be, what does she want? I can rephrase it, indirect question, saying, I wonder what she wants. You can use any other phrase, the phrases we studied. Just make sure the sentence or these questions are coherent and follow the rules that we have been saying, okay? Anyway, I put other answers here, possible answers. You can see them. Could you tell me where the nearest bank is? Do you know why that little baby is crying? The third one, do you know if there is any water here? Next, could you tell me if he is coming tomorrow? Another one, do you know how many cars she has? Then we have, do you know if they like swimming? And the last one, could you tell me what she wants? So the phrases, remember once again, according to what you want to ask, but remember to try and make it coherent. Remember the changes you have to make. Remember with the do, does, is, are, direct questions, I eliminate that. And I have to put the verb in third person. And with the modal, like you have here, can, could, I could use the if, okay? Or I could use an infinitive form as I told you before. Well, guys, I hope that with this, everything is clear. And remember, if you have any other doubts, just let me know so I can prepare another video with to help you out, you know. So this is important for the next class. We're going to put up some dialogues, examples where you have to use all this for the next class. And remember also the video with the phrasal verbs. We try to use them as well while you talk in your synchronous class. So guys, this will be all then for today. Continue enjoying the classes, the videos, and don't forget to complete your platform. Very well. See you next time. Bye-bye.